Dodge this.
This is Sparta!
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my little friend! Say what again?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
Voice is strong.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gents, welcome to the 13th episode of the BTG MovieCast. I'm your host, Stephen Nagel.
I'm Dean, your co-host.
And what we usually do on this podcast is we talk about film news, we talk about what we've been watching as well as a film topic. But we've decided to switch things up a bit. So we're changing the format of the podcast and we're just going to go straight into a discussion about something to do with film and TV.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here we go, the new podcast, the BTG MovieCast. Enjoy, guys.
Awesome. All right, so the topic for this edition of the podcast, we're looking at unpopular opinions. So by unpopular opinions, we mean things that the majority feel is kind of the right way to go, but we feel the opposite. So we're going to look at a few examples with regards to film and TV, and we're just going to discuss it and see whether or not there's any kind of reason for it to be an unpopular opinion or not.
Number one.
So number one, and I know Nagel feels really strongly about this, it's Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. Sam Raimi came out and said he's going to do this Spider-Man because it's the first one, but it's going to be awesome because we've never seen an actual proper Spider-Man on feature film before.
Yeah.
We've seen animated films before, and obviously people were quite familiar with the comics,
Yeah.
but this was the first real live-action one, and he's using Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Who at that point was, still relatively unknown, but he had obviously huge potential as an actor, and they decided that they were going to do it as kind of a massive franchise, essentially.
Yeah.
So he had everything planned out. He even had a fourth one planned out, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, cool.
Essentially, Tobey Maguire was cast as the Spider-Man, and that didn't really work out in the end.
Yeah.
Because a few years later, and we've actually on our third Spider-Man now. So, Nagel, what are your thoughts on Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man?
Tobey Maguire will always be Spider-Man for me. Screw Andrew Garfield, screw Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not that I'm not giving them a time of day. Like, I'm interested to see what Tom Holland will do with this. The Andrew Garfield films were fun, especially the first one.
Yeah.
The second one was kind of meh.
Yeah.
Even though they went and did something quite bold by doing the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
But obviously there was that film fucked up in other ways, and therefore the franchise just died.
Yeah.
And so there was no third Amazing Spider-Man film. But back to my point, Tobey Maguire for me was Spider-Man. It's literally kind of the introduction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even though he doesn't necessarily tie in, it was the first time that Marvel Studios had done something on that level that had it just had so much reach and it got so much people excited in mainstream audiences that might not have necessarily read comic books that knew about Spider-Man. And for me, that was like a religious movie-going experience, just being able to see the origin of Spider-Man on film. And I think it's more for me about that experience than about the casting.
Sure.
I get that there's an argument that Tobey Maguire is not as charismatic and he doesn't do the quips like Andrew Garfield did.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but for me, Tobey Maguire will always be Spider-Man.
I think the reason that a lot of people are very much Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man kind of centric is the fact that he was the first one.
Yeah.
And you always kind of have that, it's kind of that nostalgia. The first one is always the best one in your mind, and everything after that will be a rip-off. Like, I remember watching the Amazing Spider-Man, and they had to change a couple of things. Uncle Ben died again, and you kind of felt like, oh, but they did this already kind of thing. So that also harbors a little bit of resentment towards Andrew Garfield, and even Tom Holland now, I imagine.
Yeah, well, I think they're taking a different approach with Tom Holland's one because obviously you see that Uncle Ben's already passed away.
Yes.
He's already technically Spider-Man, so we're not getting that origin
story, which is good.
We're kind of getting him dealing with coming out as Spider-Man,
Yeah.
So, that should be interesting. But, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think I'm always Team Toby.
Yeah.
I know Dean is
Yeah.
at the moment.
My argument for Andrew Garfield, and it's like you mentioned, the movies for me felt a little bit more fun. And I really was a big fan of Andrew Garfield ever since The Social Network. I've seen him in a couple other films as well, like Never Let Me Go. And I was really quite a huge fan of the actor, and I like what he brought to it. Like you said, he was very charismatic. I felt like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was a little bit more bland. Yes, when he put on the Spider-Man suit, he had a couple of quips here and there, but he had to, really, to be honest. Like, that's what he was known for, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So there's upsides and downsides to both. Obviously, the fact that Spider-Man 3 bombed in the way that it did meant that Tobey's fate was sealed. But it would be nice to kind of I guess, have all three of them in one film. That would be pretty cool.
Cool. So I guess we just have to agree to disagree on
Yeah,
the Toby thing.
correct.
And that is what it is.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Sure. So next up, we have a discussion around the Big Bang Theory. And Dean, you
Yeah.
have some strong opinions about this.
I do. Okay, so I have to admit something. When I started watching Big Bang Theory with everyone else, it was a really good show.
I agree.
And then 12 years later, or whatever it is, I started to harbor a lot of resentment for it. And I'm not sure if it's because of the fact that they introduced so many relationships into it and became this very kind of soap opera. A lot of people still watch it like it's life and death. A lot of people still think that it's God's gift to TV.
Yeah.
And
it still gets ratings.
It
like
still gets
crazy.
high ratings. I mean, it's even getting apparently a spin-off about Sheldon Cooper.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is, I don't see it at all. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I remember I watched this one YouTube clip where they took the laugh track out of a scene of Big Bang Theory. And I just hated every single character.
Yeah.
It was just so bad. Like, Raj is so sexist. And, like, Leonard is the most unfunniest thing in the world. And I'm just like, I don't understand why people are still watching this. A lot of people love Sheldon Cooper because he's awkward. I don't understand the whole love for the show and that it keeps going. I think it's a show that has passed its sell-by date. And that shouldn't, like, sometimes I'll see it on TV and I actually just don't want to watch it. Like, and that's just my opinion. Like, and it's clearly an unpopular one.
I have to say that I'm pretty middle of the way here. Like
You're kind of indifferent, really.
Yeah, I'm completely indifferent. Like I really enjoyed the early seasons.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a bit younger and less evolved, and didn't necessarily spot all the things you're mentioning now, like the sexism or the bullshit or the unfunniness. Sheldon Cooper as a character really holds that show together for the most part. So I think I'm pretty indifferent to it.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who love it, and like sometimes
I agree with you. There's a shit ton of people that will probably cry blasphemy.
Exactly,
for what you're saying right now.
exactly, 100%. Like, and I'll take that as it comes. Get out your pitchforks. But for me, it's just a show that does not deserve as much praise as it has been getting. Like, and I feel like if one of the characters had to leave. Preferably if Sheldon Cooper had to leave, like if they had to do a whole 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen leaving, they probably would still carry it on.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it would be a disservice.
They'd probably hire Ashton Kutcher.
Exactly, but don't get us started on that.
Okay. Anyways.
But yeah, that's just my
the Big Bang
opinion.
Theory.
Yeah, I just don't
Cool,
think it's
man.
worth the praise that
You
it's
have
getting.
that opinion, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on to something kind of like newer. It's a new series. It's an FX series.
Correct.
Legion. Showrunner or writer, whatever, is the same dude who did Fargo.
Yeah.
And this show's been getting quite a lot of high praise.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I have seen some people express a lot of confusion about the show. I watched the first episode. I haven't watched any more. I know you've watched like about four.
Four, yeah.
Okay. I find the show to be gratuitous and long-winded, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see a 30-second shot of the ceiling and the lights on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what the show does. It just lingers on things unnecessarily long. Like, oh, look how beautiful the shot is that we composed.
Yeah.
That type of thing often works in Fargo because they use it as establishing shots, or something crazy is happening, like crazy violent is happening in the situation, and then they will like show this, how everything is framed, and it works for Fargo.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the same influence as the creator's causing there, or why it's so gratuitous. But the other criticism I've heard, but which I can't speak to, is that a lot of people have said that the show isn't fulfilling on an episode by episode basis. It's like a show that you need to kind of binge so that you can get to the end point as quickly as possible and be fulfilled by that. But on a week to week basis, it probably won't hold you, and I think you've experienced that.
Yeah, correct.
So yeah, like I've chatted to a few people about the show, and people are like, Legion is the best show to premiere in 2017, and I'm like, really? I mean, I'll give it a couple more episodes maybe, but at this point, I'm probably out.
Yeah. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because I think I'm gonna carry on watching it. But for me, a show should be a show, and especially a really good show, should be one that I'm really excited to watch.
Exactly.
And I can't wait to. I have to binge it.
Yeah.
And this show, I feel like, okay, maybe I'll just watch the next episode, kind of thing. I think it's because, like you said, it does labor on a little bit in terms of the episodes. Like, I feel like it could have been a much shorter. Like, it could have been in a
Half an hour. Give me half an
show.
hour, dude.
Give me half an hour of the
That
show,
would
and I
work.
think it'll be amazing. Because, like you said, it is quite aesthetically, beautiful. There's some shots and even some dialogue as well. I like the main actor. I can't remember his name now for the life of me, but he's the Beast in Beauty and the Beast now as well. I like him. He's a really good actor. And I like Aubrey Plaza as well, who doesn't have enough screen time, I think, in the episodes that I've watched, because I think she's really, really good.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a show that for me, it's kind of hit and miss. But I know a lot of people do like it.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see how it goes. Maybe it's one of those things where it starts off slow and a little bit unfulfilling, but it just picks up in a major way. A lot of people said the same thing about like Breaking Bad, for instance. And in my opinion, it's the best show that's ever been.
True.
So, we'll wait to see how it goes. But yeah, that's... And it's only about like...
7 episodes.
7
for the
episodes
first
in.
season, I think.
So yeah, so...
Cool.
We'll see how that goes.
That's Legion. And last on the list in today's discussion of unpopular opinions, we've got Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Oscar winner. Suicide Squad to the haters.
So just so you guys know, both of us enjoyed this
Yeah.
one.
Honestly, I thought it was really good. It wasn't the Godfather of comic book films, but I don't think it was supposed to be or aimed to be.
Exactly.
I think it was fun. I think it was a good action flick. Yeah, it had some plot holes, some script deficiencies, if you want to put it that way. But to be honest with you, it was still a good time. I don't think it deserved all the hate that it did.
Nobody expected this to be on the level of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
No one was expecting that from Suicide Squad. The trailers were fun, and if there was one mistake they made, they gave the editing of the final film, the final cut, to the company that had cut the trailers because of the amazing response that the trailers got. And that might have been a kind of like a swing and a miss. To be honest with you, it wasn't terrible. Like, I mean, there were a few things here and there that you could point to. Jared Leto's Joker wasn't exactly amazing.
Yeah.
Wasn't good either.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was fun action. It was kick-ass.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of cool in there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's... I don't understand the hate towards it.
Exactly.
Like, I've spoken to people who get angry when they hear the two words Suicide Squad put together.
I think it's because a lot of people, it was hyped up. It's a victim of its own hype.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that. They were like, I saw I think there were 3 trailers up until the release, and they were like, oh my word, each trailer was so amazing. And, the soundtrack was so awesome, and it was cut in such a beautiful way that they thought it was going to be the most amazing superhero film in the DCEU in for so long. And obviously because Batman vs Superman didn't turn out so well as well.
Everyone was counting on this.
Exactly.
I think that's also something like it had to pick up the pieces from Batman vs Superman, and there was a lot of pressure on this film to be the best thing ever.
Exactly. And because it wasn't, people feel like it was ultimately a failure, which I don't, and I think you don't as well agree with.
Cool. So guys, that's basically our discussion for today on unpopular opinions in film. Let us know what you think about our unpopular opinions, and if you agree or disagree and why. And you can tune in for more episodes at btglifestyle.com, our blog. Follow our blog, subscribe. You'll see a bunch of reviews and trailers and other analysis pieces. We've got a group of awesome contributors.
Yeah.
And check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/BTG Lifestyle. Search for us on Instagram at BTG Lifestyle, as well as facebook.com/BTG Lifestyle. You can find me on Twitter at The Snagel. That's THESNAGEL.
And you can find me on Twitter as well. It's at Dino15, at DEENO15.
Guys, thanks for joining us in this episode of the BTG MovieCast podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Dodge this.
This is Sparta! I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Say hello to my little friend! Say what again?
I'm gonna make him an offer.